Jovela i-COVID-19 unciphise emathuba ekugula kakhulu na ungayithola. Kanjalo qhubeka nekunatha kahle ema-ARVs kuze kunciphe inani le-HIV emtimbeni. Lokho kunciphisa emathuba ekwencisela i-HIV kulomunye.
#Jova nawe. Lo mlayeto wemasonto niulethelwa litiko letempilo libambisene naNature namhla buhlangene.
It has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Sanboy Ngwan alongside Zaman Zamanza. Thank you so much indeed for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Babana. Let's take a look at our top stories. His Majesty King Mswati III says foreign investors who invest in the Kingdom of Eswatini position themselves for penetrating the wider African market. And the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini would like to take this opportunity to appreciate all peace-loving Eswatini for remaining calm on a day wherein there were threats and intimidation propagated through social media. And the industry director in the Ministry of Commerce, Zamajobe Mtetwa, says there's a great need for the country to improve industrial policy, especially to align itself with the SADC region policies. And now the news in detail. His Majesty King Mswati III says foreign investors who invest in the Kingdom of Eswatini position themselves for penetrating the wider African market. His Majesty spoke when addressing the media from Singapore. Now, the King is accompanied by Ngosigati Lafokiane in his Singapore working trip.
His Majesty the King has been relentless in unlocking the available investment opportunities in the kingdom. The King outlined industries that Singapore investors can consider tapping into and said the Kingdom of Eswatini is well located in terms of penetrating the African market.
We are looking at a number of industries, in the agro industry, mining, tourism, manufacturing, ICT, energy sector. There's a shortage of energy. Even on other neighbors, we have a shortage. We have a lot of minerals which can also be part of producing, energy sector and so on. So there are a number of industries that we are looking at, but it's only a matter of if we access to the people of Singapore to make the decision. And for those who are looking for opportunities, for instance, to want to go and set up in Africa, which are looking at the African market, we obviously locate ourselves as the investment location. We are not competing with the other African countries. We all work together as Africans. We share a lot. That's why we've now, as Africa, we've created the free trade area. This free trade area is meant that all Africans should trade very, very strongly, because currently the trade amongst African countries has not been as strong as one would want to see it. So our main goal is to make sure that the free trade area is very effective. Obviously, if you're going to trade, you need investors to be there, to be part of it. So what we are saying, if Singaporean companies can joint venture with our companies, local companies, could be the government, could be private sector, you name it, like what Tolaram has done. They've come, they partner with the government and they invested. So we want to give many more Singaporean that kind of opportunity that if they come to invest, they are all welcome.
His Majesty covered a range of flashpoints, like why Singapore investors will not regret investing in the kingdom.
Well, I can surely say that if they come, the companies, they will not be disappointed, because we are a country which is very serious in business when it comes to ease of doing business. We make ourselves available from the King's office to all the ministries, you name it. We are all there to give all the necessary support to make sure that the business becomes a success. All of us, even the workers which do participate in the company, they all work with enthusiasm and dedication, very hard-working people, very down-to-earth, very humble, very easily to adapt. Even in terms of if the company comes in and the company comes with the new technology, because there's always a new technology, the team on the ground can easily adapt to that with the good training and all of that. There are already companies which are in existence in the country and which have done the same, which have brought in new technology. And once they come with the new technology, the workers who work in the company, once they are trained, they easily manage the program without any problem. So what we want to do is to give assurance to the companies from here in Singapore or even beyond Asia, that when they come to Eswatini, they'll get the best service that they wish to see.
On the news, I'm Sandile Makanya reporting from Singapore.
The industry director in the Ministry of Commerce, Amajoba Mtetwa, says there's a great need for the country to improve industrial policy, especially to align itself with the SADC region's policies. Now, Mtetwa was speaking in a capacity building meeting held at the Hilton Garden Inn in Mbabane, where they were looking at ways in which policies can be put in place using available data.
The Kingdom of Eswatini, through the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, received funding from the SADC to help improve industrial policy in line with those of SADC. Speaking during the meeting, Director for Trade, Amajoba Mtetwa, says there is a great need for policies to be put in place using available data.
Diversify lama products ethu ngoba siyathi ukuthi ama exports live ama top earners ngiwo lama products lesiswane emishile kanti ke live linayo I competitive advantage kulokunye mawubuka njena ngoba siyabona we are an agricultural economy, so siyakhona lokuthi singakhona ku diversify singene kulawo lamanye ama sectors, singabuki nje libasket linye, sibuke libasket lapha sikhona khona ukuthi singene kuloku lamanye ema products.
Philip from the company based in Germany called GPI says the equipped methodology will help Eswatini, just like African countries, to be able to base their policies with data.
EQUIP stands for Enhancing the Quality of Industrial Policy. And the idea and the methodology is that the government employees that are using these methods, they will be able to develop more modern and better policies that are better suited to the realities of the country, that take into consideration the evidence that's available. We're using a lot of data that is analyzed to see what the situation of Eswatini is.
Jose Rutua, who is the Programs Officer for Industrialization and Competitiveness, Industrial Development and Trade in SADC, says Eswatini is doing well in issues of trade.
Like for the case of Eswatini, they are good in, I understand, in sugar, cotton and textile. So probably for such kind of a value chains as Eswatini, they need really to focus where exactly they've got higher competitive or they're making low cost compared to other member states.
The Industrial Department in the ministry is given a mandate of ensuring urban and rural areas get a fair share of development that improve livelihood livelihoods such as employment opportunities. For Eswatini TV News on Domlangeni with Mbonga Dube, Mbabane.
Government of the Kingdom of Eswatini wishes to appreciate all peace-loving Maswati for remaining calm on a day wherein there were threats and intimidation propagated through social media by terrorist groups who wanted to hold the nation at ransom whilst claiming to be fighting for democracy. Whilst there's nothing wrong, unconstitutional or immoral about holding strong political views or having a preference for an alternative political order, deploying terror tactics to get the message across is criminal, cowardly and contrary to ideals of good governance. Now, the government has taken note of how Maswati went on with their respective lives in a most appreciated, peaceful way. Government also expresses gratitude to the country's security services for ensuring overall safety and protection of the nation in all various roads and business infrastructures across the country. Now, today, the 29th of June 2022, started and progressed as any normal working day as citizens throughout the country went about doing their normal business peacefully, despite insufficient public transport in some places. We cannot ignore that some citizens on their own chose to remain indoors, either because they were afraid of threats or they were not sure if transport would be available. Now, all in all, we appreciate the good and peace-loving citizens who chose to behave in a recommendable manner, as well as security officers who diligently and selflessly worked to ensure peace, law and order. Now, the statement is issued by government spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo. The Senior Planning Officer under the National Planning Unit and the Ministry of Economic Planning, Nombulelo Dlamini, says according to the report, one of the challenges that was encountered by organizations that work jointly with the government is that the issue of funding. Now, Dlamini says COVID-19 restricted them from covering areas that are under their program. Dlamini said this during a quarterly review which was held at the George Hotel.
The Senior Planning Officer under the National Population Unit, Nombulelo Dlamini, says that the purpose of the review is to look into the country's progress as well as the challenges that organizations have encountered in the last quarter. This includes the issue of limited funds. Dlamini explained that COVID-19 affected them as they could not cover some of the areas under the program because of COVID-19 restrictions.
We have a country program that runs up to 2025, and we also have a strategic plan that is aligned to that program. So we're just reviewing progress towards the implementation of the programs that we had set out to do for this period. And yes, from every sector, we're bringing reports on how far we have moved towards achieving those set out goals. There isn't much of challenges except for the funding of the programs. As you know, that we'd like to have a wider coverage of implementation in terms of development programs for the nation, but then we find that we are impacted by the availability of funds.
Dlamini says that they hope going forward the country will progress and will achieve set out goals. Reporting for Eswatini TV News is Nonjabulo Makakula with Mbonga Dube, Manzini.
The Eswatini Revenue Services urges businesses, especially micro, small and medium enterprises, to submit provisional tax which is due on the 30th of this month to avoid penalties. Now, this has been said by the Director of Communications, Vusi Dlamini, during an interview at the services headquarters at Zulwini when explaining the importance of businesses paying this tax.
With the aim of ensuring businesses stay up to date with their taxes, the Director of Communications at Eswatini Revenue Service, Vusi Dlamini, has reminded companies that they have until the 30th of this month to submit provisional tax.
We expect all businesses, this is companies and sole traders, to comply with this directive and submit their returns, and ordinarily these are submitted online using our online platforms. In an event they face challenges, we always say they should contact us so that we can guide them accordingly. But we also want to look into those that have entered for our debt relief program to ensure that they pay their provisional tax together with what they have committed to in terms of clearing their debts. And we find that is very, very important and it's actually linked. We have noted that there's been challenges. We haven't had problems with the big companies. We want to appreciate that they continue to comply. Where we have had challenges is with small and medium enterprises, and that's why we want to encourage them to make use of the opportunity and pay well on time.
The service has stated that paying this tax is compulsory for every business. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ngamandla with Mbongwa Dube, Zulwini.
The new Pan-African Parliament chairperson is from the Southern Caucasus. Now, this will help address matters of economic integration in the SADC region. This is according to the clerk to Parliament, Benedict Kaba, speaking during an interview with this media house in Parliament.
The Kingdom of Eswatini became a member of the Pan-African Parliament in the year 2004. Last year's Pan-African Parliament elections were disrupted following an outcry from member states regarding the imbalance in the representation of other regions in voting for the position of chairperson. The Pan-African elections are ongoing in Midrand, South Africa. Clerk to Parliament of Eswatini, Benedict Kaba, says in the previous years there was no representative from the Southern Caucasus in the elections. But this year there is a representative who is from Zimbabwe.
The stand of Eswatini is that we'll really fully support the election of Zimbabwe together with the other countries in the southern region. It is very important to have the president coming from our region, the Southern Caucasus. There are a lot of benefits. When you are president, you have got a power, or you are the driving seat of PAP. So as a country also we stand to benefit more especially on capacity building. There are also other areas that we are looking to benefit from. For example, in issue of capacitating even the parliamentary service staff, and even through attachment, and also having a Maswati to work for PAP. I think the country has got capable people who can also work as a committee clerk then, who can work as clerk of PAP. So we are looking forward to that. Now we are going to have a person from our region. We are going to engage him and also engage the clerk of parliament of PAP, so that we see what can we do to have even a Maswati to work for PAP in South Africa.
Kaba says he wrote an official report to the clerk of the Pan-African Parliament, pleading for a Maswati to be employed under the organization. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Tandugutle Mdluli. Pictures sourced from the African Union website.
The Elections and Boundaries Commission has urged Maswati to participate on the secondary elections that will take place on the 2nd of July 2022 in 2 different Tingudla centers. Now, according to the Elections and Boundaries Commission's Communications Officer, Mbonisi Bembe, he says voting will start as early as 7 a.m.
The Elections and Boundaries Commission invites Amaswati to ensure that they participate on the by-election for Spofaneni Inkundla and Gilongo that will be held on the 2nd of July 2022. According to the Elections and Boundaries Commission's Communications Officer Mbonisi Bembe, voting will start at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. for EBC officers to be able to count the votes.
Nome yonke le miphakathi letsinzekako itabe inalo lukhetho sibuke phase enkundla yaseGilgane emphakathi waseHluthe kutabe kuvalwa sikhala sebuchopho kuthi enkilongo phase enkundla angitse enkundleni yasenkilongo phase emphakathi waselusabeni nakhona kunesikhala sebuchopho bese ukuthi enkundleni yasesiphofaneni khona sine sikhala selunga leParliament. Leli bandla lilungisile emva kokuba emabito ebantu aphakanyiswe mhla ka29 na 28 na 29 kuyo enkwekweti May libese liyabuka la mabito lalungisa liphepha lokubitwa phecelede ukuthi ballot paper lapho khona sivesta besikhetha ngalomhla ka2 kuye Kholwane July. Siyacela ke kusive ukuthi isiphumelele kulomsebenzi njengaloku lukhetho lulwaso sive ngulesive lesisemphakathini lesetinkundleni lesi sati labantu lesitawu bathuma ukuthi bawubasebenzele kuphela kungako libandla lelibuketwa nendzaba telukhetfo kanye nahulumende athi telona ngumsebenzi wasosive ngibo kuphela futhi lababhalisela lukhetfo lwa 2018 labatabe banalo lungelo lokuthi bangene kuletindlu tekuvotela.
Emaswati are urged to bring their ID. Bembe says those who will be eligible to vote are those who registered for the 2018 elections. He further assured Emaswati that the COVID-19 regulations will be observed to ensure that Emaswati do not contract the virus. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Mbonga Dube Enkanini.
Now, from news coming in from the court, Advocate Lawrence Holtz says the investigating officer in Siposhongwe's case, Skumbuzo Fagutse's testimony doesn't correspond with other police officers who appeared before the court. Now, this was revealed during the police officer's cross-examination.
The police officer in charge of investigating the murder case of Victor Kamete was cross-examined by Advocate Lawrence Holtz. Senior Superintendent Skumbuzo Fagutse was asked if they had a warrant of arrest at the time when they arrested Shongwe. Fagutse says they didn't have a warrant of arrest. Holtz asked if their policies allows them to take items that were seized from a suspect and present them to the magistrate. Fagutse says the law requires them to take those items to the magistrate, which they did. Fagutse says he came to the crime scene shortly after Kamete was shot because he was from Somhlolo Stadium. Fagutse was asked if he was a soccer fan. He responded that he was on duty on that day of the incident and he is not a soccer fan. Fagutse was asked when exactly was the suspect arrested. He responded that Shong was arrested after lunch between 2 and 4 p.m. at the Ngwenya border post. He says that Shong was in possession of his passport and a cell phone, which he said was a Samsung, but later said it was a Nokia after looking through his documents. Holtz also asked Fagutse why doesn't the SIM card holder appear on the photograph that are used as evidence. Fagutse says 2 police officers from Manzini and Babane came in different times to the same scene. Fagutse says Lamini came before Patrick Lulu, who took the SIM card with an intention to further investigate the crime. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Babane.
The Ministry of Education is training curriculum writers on the importance of integrating life skills education into the curriculum. Now, the Senior Guidance Officer in the Ministry of Education, Lindiwe Dube, says it is high time that life skills education is incorporated to the curriculum and schools as a course.
With the aim of strengthening the education system, the Ministry of Education is training curriculum writers on integrating life skills education into the curriculum. The Senior Guidance Officer, Lindiwe Dube, explains.
A primary school, life skills is not a standalone subject, but it is integrated into the different subject areas for obvious reasons, being that the curriculum at primary is overloaded. So we couldn't create more space for our subject, so rather have it in the other subjects that are taught at primary. And we're also capacitating teachers from special needs schools so that they are better able to assist our learners as they develop, help them through, because at the developmental stages, that is where we lose our learners. So they need someone to support them so that they navigate through this very difficult period in their life.
Dube says the ministry aims to ensure that learners fully understand life skills. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ndlangamandla with Mbongwa Dube, Matapa.
Right now, let's see how markets are performing today in our financial report.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. You're still with the news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. I'm Sanebo Ngoan, and we shall now take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. Chairman of the Eswatini Sports Journalists Association, Lwazi Dlamini, says local sports journalists are facing challenges of intimidation and harassment while looking for information. Dlamini says these are one of the aspects that delay sports in the country, especially football. Dlamini was speaking following CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe's announcement during the South Africans Editors Forum, where he highlighted that CAF has now opened or has an open door policy to all African journalists who get harassed and intimidated while looking for information.
During the recent Editors Forum in the Republic of South Africa, CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe mentioned that CAF is determined to fight for rights of journalists. Dr. Motsepe says issues of intimidating and harassing journalists will now all of a sudden get CAF's attention. Motsepe says every African journalist will have a chance to report to CAF in case he or she has been harassed in his or her home country.
Ngicabanga ukuthi kusifundvo lokhu kakhulu nakithi because nanathi sibenawo lawo ma-challenges.
The chairman of Eswatini Sports Journalists Association, Lwazi Dlamini, says Dr. Motsepe seemed to be speaking something that has been on countless occasions happening in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Dlamini says some journalists have reached to the level of being taken to court while trying to get their stories. Dlamini concluded urging different sporting associations, mostly the football bodies, to work in hand with the journalists. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
With our sports news, we've reached the home stretch of the news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories. His Majesty King Mswati III says foreign investors who invest in the Kingdom of Eswatini position themselves for penetrating the wider African market. And the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini would like to take this opportunity to appreciate all peace-loving Emaswati for remaining calm on a day wherein there were threats and intimidation propagated through social media. And the industry director in the Ministry of Commerce, Zamajobe Mtetwa, says there's a great need for the country to improve industrial policy, especially to align itself with the SADC region policies. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini, we have come to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall now cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the team at Eswatini TV. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. God bless and good night.